Racine script. Have you ever wondered what sparked the Israel-Palestine conflict? It's a question that takes us back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, to a world that was changing rapidly. The roots of this enduring conflict lay in a movement known as Zionism. This was a nationalist and political movement of Jews and Jewish culture that supported the re-establishment of a Jewish homeland in the territory defined as the historic Land of Israel. Zionism emerged in the late 19th century in Central and Eastern Europe as a national revival movement in response to centuries of persecution across Europe. In the early 20th century, Britain came into the picture with the Balfour Declaration of 1917. This was a public statement issued by the British government during World War I, announcing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, then an Ottoman region with a minority Jewish population. It read, "His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object." Then came the mandatory Palestine period, from 1920 to 1948, when Britain administered the region under a League of Nations mandate. The region saw massive Jewish immigration, particularly in the 1930s, as Jews fled persecution in Europe. However, the local Arab population viewed this as a colonial invasion and resisted it, leading to a series of violent confrontations. These events set the stage for a conflict that would entwine the destinies of two peoples in a complex and often violent struggle. A struggle for identity, for survival, for a place to call home. This was the genesis of the Israel-Palestine conflict. And so began a conflict that has endured for more than a century. But how did we get from there to the current state of affairs? It's a journey that takes us back to the mid-20th century, a time of global realignment and the birth of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Picture this. It's 1947, and the United Nations unveils a partition plan. It's an attempt to carve up the British Mandate of Palestine into Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem under international control. The Jewish community accepts the plan, but the Arab nations and Palestinian leaders reject it. The stage is set for a clash. Fast forward to 1948, and the Arab-Israeli War erupts. This conflict, also known as the War of Independence to Israelis and the Nakba, or catastrophe to Palestinians, sees the newly declared State of Israel pitted against a coalition of Arab states. The war ends in 1949, but not before leaving a trail of displacement and irreversible change. The Six-Day War in 1967 marks another pivotal moment. Israel, in a preemptive strike, captures the Sinai Peninsula, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. The war dramatically reshapes the region's geography and significantly increases the number of Palestinians living under Israeli control. These events, among others, have left deep-seated resentments and grievances. The UN partition plan is viewed by some as the root of the problem, an attempt to impose a solution without adequate consideration for the people living there. The Arab-Israeli War and the Six-Day War are seen as pivotal moments when the balance of power shifted and the contours of the current conflict were drawn. These historical developments have shaped the region's political landscape, sowing seeds of mistrust and animosity. They've created a complex web of issues that have made peace elusive and conflict resolution a daunting task. These events further fueled the animosity between the two parties. They've set the stage for the escalation of tensions we're witnessing today, making it clear that any solution must grapple with the region's complex history. How has the world reacted to this ongoing conflict? Well, let's delve into it. The international community has expressed grave concerns over the escalating violence and the toll it's taking on civilians. The United Nations, for instance, has persistently urged both sides to de-escalate tensions and establish constructive dialogues. Major world powers, too, have taken a stance. Some have unequivocally backed Israel, citing its right to self-defense, while others have voiced support for the Palestinian cause, pointing out the dire humanitarian situation in the region. Many nations have called for a two-state solution, recognizing the rights of both Israelis and Palestinians to their sovereign nations. However, these international reactions have been met with varying degrees of acceptance. The complexities of the conflict, coupled with the deep-seated historical animosities, have often made it challenging for external interventions to broker a lasting peace. The international community remains a key player in this conflict. What is the human cost of this conflict? It's a question that echoes in the hearts of those who bear witness to the escalating tensions. As the conflict intensifies, the humanitarian repercussions are becoming more severe. It's not just about the loss of territory or political power. It's about displacement, casualties, and the heart-wrenching impact on civilian life. Families are being uprooted, their homes reduced to rubble, innocent lives are tragically cut short, and those who survive are left to navigate a landscape of uncertainty and fear. Essential services like healthcare, education, and access to clean water are disrupted, exacerbating the suffering. The psychological toll is equally profound. Children growing up amidst violence and instability carry scars that could last a lifetime. It's a cycle of trauma that threatens to perpetuate the conflict into future generations. The human cost of this conflict continues to mount. As we consider the way forward, we must prioritize the welfare and dignity of those most affected. What attempts have been made to resolve this conflict? Well, let's delve into history a bit. The search for peace between Israel and Palestine has been long and arduous, marked by both hopeful moments and disheartening setbacks. Rewind to the early 90s and you'll find the Oslo Accords, an attempt to establish a framework that would lead to the resolution of the ongoing conflict. This agreement, signed in Washington, resulted in mutual recognition between the Palestine Liberation Organization and Israel. It was a moment of optimism, of possibility, but alas, the accords did not lead to a final peace agreement. Fast forward to the year 2000, the Camp David summit was convened under the auspices of then US President Bill Clinton. The Israeli Prime Minister and the chairman of the Palestinian Authority engaged in a 2-week-long negotiation, trying to hammer out a permanent peace deal. Despite the intensive talks, the summit ended without an agreement, and the Second Intifada erupted soon after. In more recent years, there have been numerous initiatives by various international actors, from the Quartet's Roadmap for Peace to the Arab Peace Initiative. Proposals have been put forth, aiming to establish a two-state solution. Yet, each one has been met with challenges and obstacles. What about direct talks, you might ask? Well, there have been several rounds of those too, but they have often been marred by mistrust, disagreement over core issues, and the volatile situation on the ground. So, where does that leave us? The path to peace is undoubtedly complex, fraught with political, religious, and humanitarian issues. But it's important to remember that peace is not just about agreements and negotiations. It's about mutual respect, understanding, and the will to coexist. Despite numerous efforts, a lasting solution remains elusive. And yet, the quest for peace continues, because the alternative is a cycle of violence and suffering that benefits no one. The hope is that through sustained negotiations and genuine commitment to peace, a solution that respects the rights and aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians can be found. Is there hope for a peaceful resolution to the Israel-Palestine conflict? This question hangs heavy in the air, a testament to the longing for a future free from violence and strife. The path to peace is a steep climb, but the view from the top is worth every difficult step. A multifaceted approach is key to this journey. One of the possibilities for future peace lies in grassroots peace initiatives. Ordinary citizens, activists, and non-governmental organizations continue to sow seeds of understanding and empathy between Israelis and Palestinians. These initiatives, though small in scale, hold immense potential. They foster dialogue, dispelling misconceptions and building bridges of common humanity. They are the threads that weave the social fabric of a peaceful coexistence. The debate around a two-state solution also holds promise. This vision of Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace and security is not new, but it is one that requires relentless negotiation, compromise, and an unwavering commitment to justice and equality. It calls for a delicate balancing act, respecting the legitimate aspirations and rights of both peoples. International diplomacy plays a vital role in navigating these complexities. The international community, through various multilateral platforms, can facilitate dialogue and mediation. It can exert pressure and provide incentives for constructive engagement and compliance with international law. Its voice can amplify the call for peace, echoing in the halls of power and resonating in the hearts of the people. But let's not forget, the most crucial ingredient in this recipe for peace is the will of the people. It is their resilience, their longing for a life of dignity and freedom, that fuels the quest for a peaceful resolution. While challenges persist, hope for a peaceful future remains alive. It is kept aflame by the unwavering belief that a day will come when the children of Israel and Palestine will wake up to a dawn of peace, their dreams no longer held captive by the shackles of conflict. This is not just a distant dream, it is a future within our grasp if we dare to reach for it.